Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Well, welcome back. Welcome back to Raising Howl. Yeah, we're back. We're back for episode 3. You know, I brought you in here because I wanted to talk a little bit about the Red Wolves basketball season, the Sun Belt season that's just started up. Brian Hodgson leading his team on the road. Pretty tough schedule. I want to talk to you a little bit about that. Talk about our opponents coming up. South Alabama. They weren't supposed to be here. Picked to finish 11th in the Sun Belt. Here they are. They're 3-0 in conference. They're 11-4, just like the Red Wolves. Also coming up, Troy. We thought maybe Troy might be tough. Bringing back that entire team from last season. That entire team from last season that was on top of the Sun Belt for most of the year last year. You might have forgotten that. They were on top of the Sun Belt standings for a good chunk of the year. And then they just kind of pooped out. They fizzled out. It's all right. It's a long season. You gotta be mentally and physically prepared for that, and they weren't. I'm sure Scott Cross has this team a little more prepared this year. Now I want to talk about Arkansas State basketball and these upcoming games. But first, before we talk about that, I want to talk about a little bit about something that people are kind of finally realizing. And it's frustrating to me that people are finally realizing this because it's been plainly evident since, 4 or 5 years ago when the whole system went amok. That's my doorbell. I'm not going to answer it. Instead, I'm just going to keep talking to you. You are the priority. But anyway, I'm going to talk a little bit about the group of 5. What's going on with the group of 5. The other day, I don't know, about a week ago, a Sun Belt football team, they got on the social medias. They were really happy. They had just grabbed a guy off, a transfer guy from a Power 4 program, too. They're so happy. We got him. He's our guy. I was like, oh, wow, this guy must be a catch. Somebody you can instantly plug into the lineup and see instant results. His stat line, 0s for 2024. He hadn't done anything. He never got on the field. But whoa! This guy's a big catch. Meanwhile, our friend Kara Ritchie, we all know Kara. She's a stat head. She loves her highlighter. She doesn't really make spreadsheets. She makes these sort of just long Word documents. And then from the Word document, she'll take different color highlighters and each color means something. Kara makes a good point. She says in a tweet, I'm going to say tweet. I don't say X because X is stupid. I'm going to say in a tweet, not a single player who receives individual or first team all Sun Belt honors in 2024 will be back with the same team in 2025. Only a couple remaining in the league, transferring from Marshall to Southern Miss. And we know what happened with Marshall and Southern Miss. Marshall's coach Charlie Huff, bounced from Marshall to Southern Miss. So some of those Marshall guys, they're going to Southern Miss. Yeah. Sun Belt first team offense, Sun Belt first team defense. A lot of those guys taking off. Hey, man, that's fine. Right? Ahmad Hardy, you remember him? He's gone. He's the freshman of the year. Brayton Braxton from Marshall, he's gone. Actually, I think he went to Southern Miss. Still not with the same team. Defensive Player of the Year. Gone. A lot of these guys are just gone. Devontae Ross. Gone. Ishmael Mahdi, gone. Tight end Terrence Carter for Louisiana, he's gone. I mean, we spent a lot of time training these guys, right? Yeah, they come in, maybe they're 3 stars, maybe they're 2 stars, whatever. They come into the program. They learn the game of football. They get into the weight room. They learn how to be in a college atmosphere, right? Go to class. What's expected from you from the professors? What's expected from you from a college level head coach? You train up your bodies. You learn the plays. You excel on the field. Some reason you didn't get that Power 4 offer. Well, just play a year or so in the Sun Belt. You'll get that offer. I don't blame the kids. It's just the way things are set up. It's not just the Sun Belt. It's not just the Sun Belt. New article from ESPN. Guy named Max Olson. I don't know if you know the guy. I've seen him around. There are more Group of 5 to Power 4 moves than ever before. He writes, the number of Group of 5 scholarship players moving up, he says moving up, which is annoying, to Power 4 schools keeps increasing. And we're on pace for another record year in 2024-25. It's a trend, he writes, that seems irreversible as G5 programs struggle financially to compete with power programs who can easily outspend them for their best players. I'll repeat, for their best players. The Power 4 is getting our best players. In return, we get the zero stats guy from 2024. And we're supposed to be like, yeah, we got him. You know what happens? Pull him into the lineup. He'll get some reps. He'll learn what it's like to play football. He'll do well. And then he'll be back off to a Power 4 program. And here's the funny thing, is that some people still don't get it. They'll tell me, oh, yeah, it's equal. You know what? Yeah, we lose guys, but then we also gain guys. Yes, we lose our best players, but we gain a bunch of guys that didn't fit in. A bunch of guys that weren't satisfied with where they were. A bunch of malcontents. Yeah, listen, I'm not saying that the Sun Belt and the Group of 5 don't get good players. I know we did. We've gotten good players. Courtney Jackson, he's a guy out of Syracuse that we got. Became a great player for Arkansas State. And that's fine. That's great. Sometimes it works out. A lot of times it doesn't. A lot of times you find out why these players didn't fit in with their former team. You find out. Anyway, that's where we are with the Group of 5 right now. And some of you still haven't accepted it. Some of you will say to my face, oh, it's fine because we get some of these Power 4 guys too, man. They're eager to play. They just want the playing time. Okay. All right. What we're doing is we're training guys and getting them ready to be marketable. That's what we're doing. And whose fault is that? It's not the kids' fault. Man, They're just like any American. They see the opportunity and they take it. Good for them. They see an opportunity and they take advantage of it. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not the kids. You know whose fault it is? It's our fault. We allowed it to happen. You know, we had an organization that could probably marshal all of this. You know, it wasn't the most efficient organization. It wasn't the least corrupt organization. It wasn't always the most fair organization. But man, at least it provided some sort of guidelines, some sort of guardrails, right? Talking about the NCAA. Remember, though, everybody hates the NCAA. I'm sorry. They just hate it. Have you ever been around a group of college sports fans? It usually comes about how, NCAA, they're so corrupt. They're so terrible. Well, why are they terrible? Why are they just are. You know why? Because we bought the narrative. The narrative set by these large programs. Because the NCAA was thwarting the growth of large programs. Programs like Tennessee, and Notre Dame, Michigan, Alabama. Yeah, those are the programs that aren't complaining about the landscape today. They can afford it. It squeezes out their competition, right? No, we fell for it, though. And we just were fine when the Power Five took over the NCAA a few years ago. We were fine with that. Oh, finally. It's in the hands of some experts, not the bureaucrats. Now, the Power Five, most of them kind of learned that even they weren't safe, right? The SEC, the Big Ten, they weren't team players. They weren't thinking, yeah, we got to protect the game or the college sports for the Power Five. They were thinking, we got to protect college sports for us, the rich guys. So we're going to poison the reputation of the NCAA, and then we're going to backstab the other Power Five programs that helped make it all possible. Way to go, guys. We're in on it. We did it. Good work. We all deserve medals. But you know what I really wanted to talk about was Arkansas State. I didn't want to talk about the group of five and how unfair it is and how we're losing all of our players and the Power Four's taking all the players and that we just seem to be fine with that. Listen, I talk about that all the time and nobody listens. Nobody listens. Hey, Boise State got into the big playoffs. That should be, yeah, Boise State. The de facto program for Power Four people, right? Every year when the AP Top 25 comes out, got throw in a group of five team in there, right? Always Boise State. Even before the games are played. Boise State was pretty good this year. I'm not taking anything away from Boise State. Good for Boise State. You should read this article from Max Olson, ESPN staff writer. It's online. You can find it. It's not easy. It's easy to look up. Should give you an idea how it's working out. Just don't tell me it's an even system that, it's okay because we get these Power Four guys. It's not an even system at all. Group of five, they put in the work. They do the scouting. They do the training. They show these guys how to play the game. They show these guys how to be good college kids. And in return, Power 4 just takes them away. Hey, capitalism at its finest, right? But you see, even in capitalism, right, you have guardrails, you have checkpoints, you have maybe an organization that looks out for you. We had that in the NCAA. We don't have that anymore. People say, oh, the NCAA still exists, Jeremy. No, it doesn't. It's the Big Ten and the SEC. They are the NCAA. Anyway, nobody's really looking out for us. We got to look out for each other. That would be nice if we would look out for each other and be unified. Maybe take a stand. Instead of saying things like, oh, it's even, guys. It's even. See, it works out. We get their leftovers and they get our best stuff. See, it's even, guys. It's not even. You know what else is not even? It's the Sun Belt basketball schedule that's working against Arkansas State right now. I know, you know what, you make the schedule, you don't know how it's going to work. I'm sure Brian Hodgson isn't very happy with how the first 4 games have been scheduled in conference for Arkansas State. Hey, they put us on the road. Not only did they put Arkansas State on the road, guys, but the first 2 games was the furthest possible destination that you could send Arkansas State to for a conference game, all the way out in Virginia, to Harrisonburg and to Norfolk, to play Old Dominion and James Madison. That is a brutal trip. I don't care if you're on a private plane. It is a long trip. It's hard to play any sporting event when you have to go that far. And our first 2 games of the year, furthest you can possibly send the team. Get Old Dominion, that's fine. Old Dominion's not very good this year. Slam dunk city, right? Arkansas State without possibly their best player. Is Kobe Julian the best player on Arkansas State? I don't know. There's actually a lot of great guys on Arkansas State. It's really hard to say who's the best player, but I will tell you what, Kobe Julian's a tank. He's a big dude. And he will plow through the paint, and people will either dive out of the way or accept the pain. And we don't have Kobe Julian right now. We have Darian Ford. He's a big guy. He's not as big as Kobe Julian. I mean, you can throw Darian Ford through there, and man, he'll muscle through, but not in the same way Kobe Julian can. So we don't have that big inside presence. We don't have that bruiser. A few weeks ago, Kobe Julian had 16 points in a game, 14 from free throws. Yeah, he gets fouled, and he makes his free throws. And that's what the team is missing right now. We didn't really miss it against Old Dominion because Old Dominion is not that good. We missed it against James Madison, though. We missed Kobe Julian. We wanted to win on the inside. I don't know. I didn't ask the coach, hey, coach, what was the game plan against James Madison? But just watch the game. It started off, we hit a couple threes with Joseph Pinion. And then it was like, all right, we are determined to win this game in the paint. Nothing wrong with that. I love winning games in the paint. Those are the best games to win. Man, give me a hard layup. Give me the hard 3 any time. I will take that. Turns out, though, that the Dukes, they had some inside guys, too. Most notably, Elijah Hutchins Everett. God, that guy's a load. He's a big guy. It's hard to get around him. You think if we had Kobe Julian charging in through the lane, you think that Elijah Hutchins Everett would be as effective as he was against us on Saturday? I don't know. I tell you one thing. Hutchins Everett nailed 2 3-pointers. But that doesn't usually happen for that guy. But twice he was left alone on the perimeter. And he had that look, when a big man is all alone on the perimeter, he's got the ball in his hand. Do I take the shot? Do I take the shot? He did twice and nailed it. Red Wolves lost by 5. His 6 points on his 2 3-pointers, that was the difference. If Hutchins Everett misses those 3-pointers, those 2 3-pointers, we might have had a different outcome. Anyway, but it wasn't really the outside game that killed Arkansas State against the Dukes. It was the inside game. Didn't have Kobe Julian. He's nursing an ankle right now. I don't know what it is. That's one thing about Hodgson. He can be very coy, very mysterious about injuries on the team. It's always like, we should get him back next week. And then he doesn't show up. Well, we're going to wait another week. All right, that's coach's prerogative. He's trying to keep people guessing. Sometimes he keeps us guessing, and that's fine. He's trying to win games. His job is not to make me happy. So we lose to James Madison, one of the better teams net-wise in the Sun Belt. The Sun Belt not doing very good in the net. But now we got at least 2 sub-100 teams. Us at 96 or 97, depending on what day it is. And South Alabama. Ooh, where'd these guys come from? They're right at 91 right now. South Alabama. Here's the thing about South Alabama. I didn't realize how long Richie Riley had been coaching the Jags. He's been there 6 years now. And guess what? Never had a losing season, ever. 6 years of not having a losing season. That's pretty good. Now, they've had years where you felt like they should have been better than they were. But, yeah. 6 winning seasons. But picked to finish 11th this year. And they have just a lot of guys from different places. They got Barry Dunning Jr. I don't know if you remember him. He was with Arkansas for a while. If you live in the state of Arkansas, you can't help but to kind of know who has played for Arkansas. He was a 2-time Gatorade Alabama Player of the Year. Went to Arkansas, transferred to UAB. Last year, he came down to Mobile, kind of rediscovered himself. And here he is, a 6'6" forward. Was he averaging 14 points a game, 13 points a game, 13 points a game, 6 boards. Dunning is dangerous, but maybe not as dangerous as their 6-foot guard, Miles Corey. Yeah. He comes from William Jessup. I don't know what that school is, but he had a good career with William Jessup. He leads the team in points scored, field goal percentage, assists. His buddy, 6'6" forward, Judah Brown, best 3-point percentage in all of Sunbelt. Judah Brown, forward, 6'6". He's pretty good too. But it's not really the offense that makes South Alabama any good. They're not lighting it up on offense. Yes, they're really good at hitting the 3-pointer, but we all know how the 3-pointer works. If you don't hit them, you're not winning the game, right? And sometimes you just don't hit them. They're actually pretty lousy at rebounding. I want to say they're at the bottom of the Sun Belt for rebounding. They don't have any big guy in the middle. They got this one senior, Elijah Armiston. He's 6'8". He's not even the regular starter. I think he started against Georgia Southern on Saturday. He scores about 4 points a game. They're not a rebounding team. Here's what they do. They steal the ball. They're really good at steals. They're really good at forcing turnovers. In fact, for turnover margin, 6.80. The fifth best nationally, and way better than any other team in the Sun Belt. I mean, way better. Like if South Alabama is at 6.8 turnover margin, the next best one is like 1.5 or something like that. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but that's pretty crazy. That's the bread and butter of South Alabama, creating turnovers, getting hot on the three. If you watch their game against Georgia Southern, which I did watch a good chunk of it. They came on before the A-State James Madison game on Saturday. I watched the game. Neither team looked very good to open the game. I think it was like 6-0. 7 minutes in. 8 minutes. Georgia Southern did not score a goal for 8 minutes. They're stuck on goose egg for more than 8 minutes of the game. Couldn't hit a three, couldn't hit a layup, couldn't get to the line, couldn't do anything. You know, I'm watching the game. South Alabama, they're quick. They play fast. They're not necessarily blocking a lot of shots or creating havoc under the basket. They're just a tenacious team. You know what they kind of remind me of? A little bit of Appalachian State a couple of years ago. That team, here's the thing with Appalachian State a couple of years ago, even as early as last year. They were a great defensive team, but they were great in the paint. They had shot blockers. South Alabama has ball stealers. Arkansas State can beat the press, but sometimes they can't beat the press. Sometimes they have a little bit of trouble with these fast, squirrely guys that reach in, take the ball. That's going to be a fun game. A couple days later, we get Troy. You know what, Troy, one of the OGs of the Sun Belt. Feels like we've been playing Troy forever. Let's go back to South Alabama a little bit because it's going to kind of relate to Troy. South Alabama has won 4 games in a row. 3 of them in conference. One was a smaller team. I can't remember who. But all those games they've won by at least 20 points, including James Madison, who they crushed. I think they held James Madison to something like 46 points. That's how you get a sub 100 net rating, by the way. It's not necessarily, who you beat. It's how badly you beat them. You've got to beat them badly. Yeah, it didn't really help us to beat Jackson State by a couple points. That doesn't help us at home. Definitely doesn't help to lose to Hofstra or to Rice. Anyway. That's how you improve your net. If you're not playing a great schedule, you just blow out your opponents. No mercy. You don't look across, see the other coach, and go, "Man, I feel sorry for this guy. I'm gonna put in my subs. We're gonna coast, win by 9-5." No, you gotta blow these guys out. Troy Trojans, they're not really blowing guys out. They're just playing solid Scott Cross basketball. Scott Cross, you remember him? He coached at UTA. Somehow gets fired or released by UTA. And then he ends up at Troy. Scott Cross. And he's made Troy into a solid, not spectacular, a solid basketball program. Just a bunch of guys that do their jobs. They've got the returning Sun Belt Freshman of the Year, Miles Rigsby. His brother plays on the team too. Getting 12 points per game from Rigsby. The only other guy scoring double figures For Troy is Tatum Connerway. Tatum Connerway. He's putting up 10. Tatum, he's pretty good at something that for which both South Alabama and Troy excel, and that's assists. They're very generous. They pass the ball around. They find the open guy. They're not just popping shots. Troy ranks 5th in the Sun Belt for scoring. But again, it's more about defense for Troy. They rank 2nd in steals, right behind South Alabama. But unlike South Alabama, they're pretty good at blocking shots. They're much better at rebounding, that's for sure. So on paper, who looks like the more difficult challenge? South Alabama or Troy? I don't know. South Alabama's pretty hot. Here's the thing with Troy. They haven't really beaten anybody. They've played some marquee programs. Oregon. They played Arkansas. They played Houston. And the final scores are all blowouts. People say, oh, well, they played Arkansas tough. Yeah, they played Arkansas tough for a half. Second half was a different story. Now, if you look at Troy and their record, it's a lot of I don't know, teams you haven't heard of, Division II teams. They beat Toledo. That's good. In the MAC Challenge. But no, they don't have a marquee win. Quite frankly, neither does South Alabama, although South Alabama has that win over James Madison, the defending conference champion. So how do we beat these two teams on the road? What's the key? I think I already stated it. I think I already said it, guys. I think it's Kobe Julian. Listen, I am not like some super basketball analyst. All right? I don't know why we lost to James Madison. Like if you ask me, Jeremy, tell me how we lost to James Madison. How did we blow that 13-point lead? I don't know. Here's what it looked like. It looked like to me that James Madison keyed in on Taron Todd, decided that he was the problem. They keyed in on Todd. They forced Todd to make a lot of bad shots. And Todd, kind of not understanding or not realizing or not, I don't know, didn't seem to understand that he has a whole team of weapons around him, or maybe the coach didn't realize he had a whole team of weapons around him. But Todd seemed to want to win the game by himself. We kind of went away from the perimeter shooting. We had Rashad Marshall cleaning up a lot of shots. I love it. Anytime Marshall gets a bucket, that's a bonus. He was making buckets. I love that. Terrence Ford struggled against JMU. He could not find his shot. Left a lot of shots short. I look at that, I always say, well, that must be because his legs are tired. It's a long trip to Virginia, boys. It is a long trip. And a lot of his shots were just falling short. Terrence Ford also coming back from injury. I don't know if he was tired. Maybe he was just off. Had a great game against ODU. Did not have a great game against James Madison. So why did Arkansas State lose to James Madison? I already said it. That we didn't have Kobe Julian on the floor. It's one guy. Sure, he's the preseason Sun Belt Player of the Year, but he is one guy. And yes, I think that my good friend Shane Metlin might not agree with me on this, but I feel like 9 times out of 10, Arkansas State wins the game. I really do. I feel like they're just a better team. Hand it to Coach Spradlin. He figured something out, though. He saw a weakness that he could exploit. And one of those weaknesses was not having Kobe Julian. Kobe Julian, like I said, is a tank. He inflicts damage, he takes damage. Every time I see him pop a three, I'm like, no, you don't need to be popping threes. Just charge the lane. But sometimes he makes those threes, so okay, good for him. Also, where the heck was Josh Hill? What happened to him? Is he dinged? We didn't see him hardly at all. All he did was making 3-pointers at will against Old Dominion. And against Coastal Carolina. Yeah, well. We need Kobe Julian because the first road trip of the year for Arkansas State has been absolutely brutal. Guys, of the 4 top performing net teams in the Sun Belt, the top 4, 1 is Arkansas State. 3 are teams that we have to play back to back to back on the road at their gyms. You think Coach Hodgson likes that? I doubt it. I very much doubt he likes that. Although, he kind of likes a challenge, He's up for challenges. He likes them. Thinks of it as hardening the team, getting the team ready for, probably the Sun Belt tournament, which is probably the only way that we're going to end up in the NCAAs. As good as this team is, it's just the way it is. Will we see Kobe Julian Thursday? I hope so. That's my son, by the way, with his super sneeze. I don't know if you heard that. Anyway, that's him. He hopes that Kobe Julian comes back. Raise a glass with me. Let's hope that Kobe Julian comes back.